Today I visited my father. My sister was there. I think I mentioned this was coming up. And my friend was here, which was a great help. I wouldn't have done it without her. I couldn't have done it without her. But that's another story. It was difficult. Was it difficult because my sister was there? I think that did contribute towards it, but it was exhausting. I could easily have not returned after lunch. I did fall silent in the afternoon. I really ran out of things to say and lost the will to say anything. And if I were alone, I wouldn't go back tomorrow. Yeah, I admit that's cowardice, that's failing, running away, but it was difficult. Yes, if I'm honest, it wasn't all difficult. There were moments, bits I enjoyed, bits where I felt free that I could say what I wanted to say, ask questions, but it is so exhausting. And can I be that person who talks to and is at ease with their family? There was quite a lot of, within me, anger with my mother. And when my father was talking about her distress at my going, I didn't feel sorry for her. Because I did find her unpleasant. Unpleasant, cruel, spiteful. And I can't say, I don't really think I can say this to my father, who has this rosy view of my mother being a perfect mother, wife, whilst paying lip service to some of her visible flaws. I've said before that he said this, and I have hinted, I've said that I didn't find this in her. He's more than once said that he thinks it's odd that none of his children talk about their mother. I have asked him why he thought this was, and has he asked them why they didn't talk about it? And he did reply that he hasn't asked because he didn't want to hear something he didn't want to hear. Does he know what she was like? The whole thing is fraught, and I don't want to be responsible for hurting a 95-year-old man and destroying his illusions about his wife because I don't agree with them. What do I do? Do I just keep quiet? Do I just pretend that growing up was great? That I enjoyed being part of the family? Oh, for God's sake, have I said this here before? I never felt I was part of that family. My wife's family, whilst dysfunctional, felt more of a family in the brief time I knew them than mine ever did in all the time I knew them. and more than they do now. Is it me? Is the problem with me? And to cap it all, at a time when I'm feeling uncertain, things are difficult with my friend, and I suspect that's the future. Which said, I'm grateful she's here and she's been very helpful and supportive. But if she weren't here, I wouldn't go back tomorrow. It would be so easy if I were here alone with my own car to pack up tomorrow morning, pay for the accommodation, get in the van and drive home. And that would be that. I wouldn't have to call my father again. I wouldn't have to send any messages to my sister. And I could go back to being alone. A question my hypnotherapist asked me was, what was the best time in my period of my life, I think, and why was it so good? The best time was when I was living in North Hampshire on my own. What was so good about it? The easy, facile answer would be to say, because I was on my own. It's not that simple. I was doing a job that I hated, despised even, working with people I couldn't talk to. What was so good about it? I wasn't making that much money. Is that fireworks? Belated New Year's fireworks. I wasn't making that much money. I was making, for various reasons, significantly more than the people I worked with. That was my choice. I hated the job. I didn't like the people I worked with. I liked where I was living. I was happy where I was living. I was happy living alone. I had my books, my music, my garden. So that was an area that was right for me. Have I talked about this before? I might have done. She's in the shower, washing her hair, and she's making tones, and I find that so moving. I can't explain that. That's now. Talking about then. Hopefully this will come up at my next hypnotherapy session, and I might be able to explain to her, to whom I have a facility of speaking which I find, for me, astounding. But perhaps I can try and explain to her why that was such a good time. Looking back, it feels to me the way that people describe their childhood, like the sun was shining all the time. So I remember that period, living alone in that house, doing a shitty job, having enough money to pay the bills and a bit over for luxuries so I could buy books, music. I see that as the best time of my life. No, I wasn't saving money. I wasn't having. I couldn't afford expensive holidays even if I wanted them. And I had to think about money all the time. But I had enough. And a beautiful location. so much was going well, I felt. And it was when I was living there that I met and married my wife. Oh, I was doing the conservation volunteering with a nice bunch of people who were, by and large, friendly, supportive, encouraging. I was doing something I enjoyed, outdoors. And it was through the work that I met my wife. And then it all began to change. I'm not saying because of that. But my work changed. I had left the driving job I didn't like. I was working for myself. The business partner left. The landlord died. Another house. Different jobs. Moving and thinking to myself, are we just another couple who feel it's not working out and think that they can put things back together, make it work again by moving? I thought that at the time. And here we are, 23 years later. I'm living in a situation I've talked about before, doing work I've talked about before. And really the one spark of brightness that I've had has been this friendship about which I've talked so much. It has given me strength to do things. The friendship and things it has introduced me to a different way of living, a different way of seeing things, different way of being myself. And it has led me to new places, to being reunited with my family. But where has that gone? Do I now see why I left my family 40 years ago? Strangers. What do I have in common with them? I feel I'm at a crossroads. That the road behind me is closed. Not a crossroads. The road behind me is closed. There may be paths ahead. I cannot see them. It's an opportunity. There are opportunities, but I can't see what the opportunities are. They're well hidden. But hey, I was probably saying this sort of shit 12 months ago. I may well be in 12 months' time. But I suspect not. I think with the domestic relationship, I can't see any way back from where I am. And why has that come about? Because I've changed. I've changed and I've seen that within that relationship I don't have existence only to be of service to others. I have seen that for years I have been unheard, that what I say doesn't matter. It is of no significance. And did I say here? I found some notes relating to some therapy that my wife and myself went through 10 or 12 years ago. No, it wasn't. It was more than that. It was 15 years ago, I think. And I was saying the same things then as I have not voiced. Well, I have tried to voice to her now that I just am not heard. I speak to her and she's too busy. She wants me to do things that I don't want to do. And in the past, I would have done them. It still goes back to this thing that back then, 15 years ago, my voice wasn't heard. I would say things and they'd just be dismissed, ignored. And that's how it's been up to now. The tones continue. That it brings me joy. Can you hear? I could really do with a wee, but she's shut the bathroom door, which is obviously establishing a boundary, which I respect. Might have to wee in the sink. But you don't need to know that. Too much information. We're getting away from the serious issues. Family, where do I go? I'm going back tomorrow. And did I say here or did I write it elsewhere? The reason I'm going back tomorrow is that my friend is here, it's her car, and I can't just walk out. I can't refuse to go, which I've done before with my wife in unwelcome situations. Once or twice I've just said, no, I'm not going. I'm not prepared to do that here because I have invested in this re-establishment. I've got to have another go. And because it's not my car, and I'm not going to behave like a 2-year-old in a tantrum saying, no, I'm not going, I'm staying here. You go on your own. I like to think I'm better than that now. I will go and I will really do my best to breathe and be my best self. But how to do it, I don't know. It would be easier. It'd be easier for me if I were with either my father or my sister, not both together. I really have less problem with my friend being there than I do with having those two together. What do I say? I have this burden that my father feels I've failed him. He created this fantasy existence for myself where I was a bridge playing mathematics graduate who has had a high flying career in science, and he's got me. And he's made no secret of his disappointment. So, son, do you regret not going to university? Do you regret not completing your degree? Do you regret not having a career in science? Have you made provisions for your old age? What's your pension like? Your brother earns £300,000 a year. Your sister's got £1 million house on a Swedish island and a job she really enjoys. I take it to heart. It's difficult not to. Tell me about your life. Tell me about what you're doing, what you're reading. Why haven't you read Dostoevsky? You need to read Russian literature. It's the greatest. You're a dumbo because you don't read Russian literature. What are you reading? Tell me what you're reading at the moment. Tell me all about it. And then telling my sister that I read and reread Kafka, for whom he has the greatest disdain. And yet he is exhorting me to read these horrible, horrible Russian books. Your mother would die for you, would have died for you. She was a wonderful person, a wonderful mother. No, she wasn't. But anyway, there I go again, saying that again. That's it for tonight.